What are you doing in this game?
Oh, I'm just so happy that you're happy. I am starting Darrell Williams, and I believe that he is a must-start in this game against the Titans. He's had 24 touches in his one game without Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the lineup when he started. 5 carries inside the 5-yard line as well this season. Rest of the team, 0. We were all joking before the show started that the league has figured out Patrick Mahomes. So I guess since that's the case, then it'll just be a run-heavy game.
Yeah, Darrell Williams has been great. It might be time to have the discussion which Kansas City running back is better. But on the other side of the ball, I think Julio Jones is a player that you could sit this week. It's nothing against Julio Jones. It's just he has left early in the last 2 games that he has played due to this hamstring injury. He was limited at practice all week. There's a risk that if you start him, this could be another game with fewer than 9 fantasy points. Unless you're desperate because of injuries and buys, I think you could get away from Julio Jones this week.
Get well soon, Julio. A battle for first in the AFC North. Bengals and Ravens. MJD, what are we doing?
I'm going to start CJ Uzomah, who I think, again, in a position that's a little tough. You don't know who to go with. You don't have Kyle Pitts. You don't have some of these top tight ends. This guy has come and showed up week after week after week. He's a touchdown dependent guy, but I like those kind of guys, so I'm going to start him.
Another player I know MJD likes this week is Joe Burrow, and I think you could start him with confidence this week. He has been the QB 11 since week 4, averaging over 21 fantasy points per game. He's thrown multiple passing touchdowns in every game this year. The Ravens have already allowed 22 fantasy points to Derek Carr, Patrick Mahomes, and Carson Wentz. I think Burrow joins the club this week trying to keep up with Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense. He is my 10th ranked quarterback this week.
The Eagles traveling to Vegas. Plenty of fantasy options, Marcus.
Absolutely. And one I like as a sleeper is Henry Ruggs, who we had expectations for him last year as a rookie, and it just never really panned out. This year, though, he's starting to put it together a little bit. He's nearly matched his reception and yardage totals from his rookie season. The big part is he's become more of a deep threat. We thought that would happen last year. It didn't. You look at the throws of 20 or more air yards. So far this year, he already has more catches, more yards, just as many touchdowns as he did in those throws last year. So it's a nice opportunity to maybe slide him in as a flex player this week.
I've been flexing Henry Ruggs the last few weeks, and I've been pretty darn happy about it. So I love that pick, Marcus. Staying in this exact same game, I actually feel really good about starting Josh Jacobs this week against the Eagles in Vegas. Now, in each game played this season, he has put up double-digit fantasy points. That's good for fantasy managers who have him starting. 4 rushing touchdowns in the 4 games this season. Plus, his carries and his rush yards have increased in each game this year. All of those signs are positive. That's why I feel good about Jacobs on Sunday.
Yeah, the Raiders getting a nice boost after they get rid of their coach. Football team against the Packers. And I say you start J.D. McKissic. Antonio Gibson got some work in at practice today on the side with the shin injury that he's been dealing with all season long. But even in a game last week where Gibson played, McKissic had 8 receptions, 19 points in PPR leagues, down most of the second half against KC. They're playing the Packers this week. I think they might be down most of the second half, if not the first half as well. I say you start J.D. McKissic.
Well, if we're talking about game script here, that's going to work out for J.D. McKissic. I also think it's going to work out for my sleeper, A.J. Dillon. All hail Quadzilla, the man who never skips leg day, has really slid nicely into the Jamal Williams role there. The last 3 weeks, about 13 touches per game. That's up from about 6 touches per game in the first 3 weeks of the season. Over the last month, Washington's given up the second most fantasy points per game to running backs, including 6 receiving touchdowns. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, A.J. Dillon had his first receiving touchdown in the NFL, or at least for this season.
Action in the Falcons and the Dolphins. Your thoughts on Mike Gesicki, Kenny?
I'm starting Mike Gesicki. Also, shout out to Iowa, tight end University, George Kittle, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson. Love y'all. But back to Mike Gesicki here. I know I got roasted by MJD earlier when I chose against Jalen Waddle. He said Jalen Waddle was going to get all the action, but I think instead it will be Gesicki. He leads tight ends in receptions since week 3. We saw what happened last week with Tua back in that game in London. Mike Gesicki was all over the field, and Tua was getting him the ball. So I feel good about this matchup versus the Falcons this week.
Yeah, for me, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to start Kyle Pitts. That's right. Yeah, so this is the thing. I was at both of those games, and it seemed like your tight end has to go to London to kind of get started, okay? Kyle Pitts has a huge game against the Jets, and I think that they're going to target him again. He finally showed what his potential, what they wanted him to do. I am excited to see this young man play. I know he started off bad, but I think this season, throughout the rest of the season, he's going to pick it up and have some big-time plays.
London with powers for tight ends. I like that theory. Let's go to the Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford double revenge game. Revenge game for Sean McVay as well. Lions, Rams. Tell us about the tight ends, Marcus.
Yeah, we're starting T.J. Hawkinson because Jared Goff, I guess, is looking for some payback. And if he's going to do it, he's going to be throwing it to T.J. Hawkinson. He's got 3 games with 15 or more fantasy points. If for him, it's been all about the target share, right? He has 4 games with 8 or more targets. He's got 2 games with 3 or fewer. When he's on the higher end of the target scale, he is more productive. I'm expecting him to be on the higher end because, game script. It's not going to be in the favor of the Lions. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the tight end on the other side of that one. I think Tyler Higbee is a must-start option in Week 7. And really, I think it's just because all the Rams are must-start options. I think Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are going to want to show a thing or two to Detroit. But Higbee's been playing well. He's got 4 end zone targets this season, which is tied for the most amongst tight ends. And he's also running the 7th most routes amongst all tight ends. He's got a safe floor of around 8 fantasy points, but I think he could catch a touchdown because I think all the Rams are going to catch touchdowns this week. So get him in your lineup.
Not a lot of faith in the Lions. Let's get to the Bears and the Bucks. And I say, on National Tight End Day, you just have to beware O.J. Howard. Sorry, boss. You had a great game against Philly. The Bears are a lot better at linebacker than the Eagles are in Chicago, a top 5 defense against tight ends. Perhaps because they have to stay in and chip Khalil Mack. Maybe that's a part of the equation. But on National Tight End Day, we've already gotten several starts, so if you're streaming, keep paying attention because you guys, you can pull this off.
For me, guys, I'm going to say start Khalil Herbert. I'm sorry. I was so enamored by O.J. Howard, I was contemplating starting him. Thank you for that, Patrick. But look, Khalil Herbert, okay, first of all, he comes in. He's going to get the lion's share of the touches. We see there 18-plus rush attempts, 75-plus rushing yards. You just want volume in this situation right now. Everyone's banged up a little bit. He's going to be the guy. He's showed well. And then also my old college roommate is his running back coach, and he told me they're going to kind of lean on him here a little bit in this game.
Well, a little inside info from MJD. Let's get to the Texans and the Cardinals where, Kimmy, they're allowed to use Zach Ertz now.
They are. I know this is a new kid on the block situation, but it's a new elite kid on the block. Florio disagrees with me on this one. He thinks it's still going to be a Max Williams show, but I do think Zach Ertz is immediately going to get involved in this very high-powered offense. Plus, I'm going to pick on the matchup just a little bit because the Texans have allowed a tight end into the end zone in 5 of 6 games this season. What's better than a welcome present into an end zone, right, Florio? Come on, man.
All right, if you're struggling at the running back position, I got a sleeper for you. I didn't want to use him in our sleeper segment. Mark Ingram. Listen, Mark Ingram gets red zone touches. They run the ball with him. He's come out to be the lead back in this situation. And yes, they may be down, but they still try to run the ball and have some type of running game. I think if you need a flex play, especially in this what is it called? Buy-mageddon?
Yep.
Is that what you guys call it?
Buy-mageddon, Buy-palooza is fine.
Yeah, whatever. All these buys happening this week. If you need a player, Mark Ingram will be that guy.
Wrapping up our Sunday showdowns, we start with the Panthers and the Giants. Mr. Florio, what are you doing in this particular matchup?
I'm saying Robbie Anderson is a sleeper despite all of his struggles because I can't make sense of it in my brain. Like, we know Robbie Anderson is a pretty good football player. We know he's got chemistry there with Sam Darnold, and the volume has been there for him. He's averaging 10 targets per game in his last 3 weeks. I don't know why he's struggling, but I expect better production to come, especially this week as the Giants have allowed 15-plus fantasy points to 4 wide receivers in their last 3 games. So I'm thinking he gets a get-right game this week and maybe gets back on track.
Yeah, both he and DJ Moore could have played a lot better in the past week. And it's good that Florio believes in Robbie. It's good to believe in things. I'm sitting Daniel Jones because I do not believe. The game against the Rams was bad. The turnovers were back. The Giants have injuries everywhere that we talked about earlier in the show. Even Slayton and Shepard are both questionable. It's bad. Avoid, don't enter dead inside. Stay away from the Giants this week against the Carolina Panthers. New York's other squad, the Jets, visit their division rival Pats. Kimmy, do you have a sleeper for us?
I do. I have a sleeper in Michael Carter because sadly there's not much to love of this Jets offense. So I think Michael Carter probably the safest bet for me this weekend going up against the Patriots, who allowed 16 plus fantasy points to running back in 3 of the last 4 games. Carter, he's had over 13 touches in 3 of his last 4 and a rushing TD in 2 straight. So again, not much to love on the Jets except for Michael Carter and his potential production against New England.
I do like Michael Carter. I wish his offense was better. That'd make me feel more better about it. I do feel pretty good, though, about Hunter Henry this week. The last 3 weeks, he's had about a 16% target share in that passing game. He's had a touchdown in 3 straight games. They're starting to use him a little bit more. I think he has sort of surpassed Jonnu Smith as the #1 tight end there. And he's got the Jets, which we keep talking about how the Jets are a bad defense. They've given up the most fantasy points per game to tight ends over the last couple of weeks.
Let's get to the Sunday night contest, the Colts against the Niners. MJD, what do we need to know?
Hey, sleeper, Mo Alley Cox. I love this matchup for him. These tight ends, the way Carson Wentz has been playing, he's got 1 touchdown reception in the last 3 games. To me, again, they're finding ways to get the ball out. He's very athletic, and he gets those red zone targets, and that's what you love.
Yeah, if you're streaming a tight end, you're basically hoping for a touchdown. I think he's got a good chance of scoring one. I think Elijah Mitchell is a sleeper in that game as well. It feels like forever ago people were fighting to get him on their rosters after week 1, but since then he's kind of been a forgotten man in fantasy. But when he is healthy, he's been dominating the backfield work for the 49ers, averaging over 16 touches per game, and it's a Kyle Shanahan run system. I think you're going to want a piece of that. So Mitchell's a sleeper for you guys this week.
Yeah, and that's why we all wanted him just a few short weeks ago.